Good evening, everybody. Hope y'all doing well. Hope y'all had a good day today, doing whatever it is that you do. Welcome back to my channel. It's Lance here, co-founder of BH Capital Enterprises, also longtime Abacus member and team leader for Team Mamba. I wanted to piggyback off of the video that I did previously on meeting people where they are. And I wanted to kind of talk about it from a different vantage point, um, specifically in reference to change and growth and things of that nature. So, in saying that, I believe one of the only constant things in this world is change. Of course, aside from time. Uh, and in that, I realized that I'm not the same person that I was 10 minutes ago. I'm not the same person that I was, 15 years ago when I was a teenager, when I was an adolescent, when I was a child. I've been, constantly through each stage of my life becoming a different person, coming into eventually, which is my hope, that I become the best possible version of myself. So that's what I'm always trying to strive to be. But in saying that, I realize that there are things that I know now that I did not know 10 years ago. Hell, that I didn't know 5 minutes ago. I literally just learned something new 5 minutes ago. Um, so, with that being said, it serves as a way for me to kind of check and remind myself that there are people out there that are on their own journeys, their own evolutionary journeys, and they're not necessarily at the same stage as you. Um, they could be somewhere, beyond what I know. And then also, I could be somewhere beyond what someone else knows. But either way it goes, I have to remind myself that when I meet someone, well, at this point, I don't really have to consciously remind myself because I've been working on this for a long time. But it's good to consciously remind yourself that, hey, whenever you meet someone that you feel may not be as knowledgeable about a certain subject, right? So it's good to, at least I think, in my humble opinion, I think it's good to remember who you were at a different stage in your life when you were not as knowledgeable about a chosen topic as you are now. So this kind of guides my interactions with people, and in that I'm very respectful and sensitive to uh, people and their desires when it comes to learning and gaining information. So I'm not one to, you know, make fun of someone because they don't know a certain thing, because I'm like, at one time in my life, I was just as ignorant about this particular subject. You know what I'm saying? So that So, in knowing that and having that piece of growth in me, it kind of, like I said, it guides my interaction with said individual, and I'm able to relate better with that person because I go back to myself, who at some stage in my life had a desire to learn whatever it is that this individual has presented to you, as something that they want to learn. So I'm kind of taken back to that time in my life, and I can be very gentle in the conversation and sensitive to the words that I use, my tone, etc., when it comes to speaking with this person. Now, if that was something that I did not or had never worked on, um, I could not see myself being uh, very successful with relating with these people. And I'm specifically speaking on things like the stock market. I mean, it can apply to any type of subject, but the stock market is the subject that I teach on. So I got somebody that comes to me and they say, "Hey, Lance, I really want to learn about the stock market, but I don't know where to start. I'm completely ignorant to it. I have a 401k through my job, but I really don't know what's going on. The numbers go up and down. Just basic knowledge where they're kind of lost in the dark." So they come to me and, we have this conversation. That's typically what I do is I try to gauge experience. I try to gauge knowledge when people approach me inquiring about the markets. And just imagine how you would feel if you went to someone to learn a certain thing, stock market or whatever, and you were belittled because of what you don't know. Regardless of your age, we all have we all have ignorance. Nobody, I don't think anybody in this world is completely without ignorance in some form or fashion, in some area of life. Um, so, it's kind of like a gentle, humble reminder that I have, I kind of built and cultivated inside myself. So there are people that when you try to approach them, they're kind of belittling when it comes to sharing the information or just their interactions with people overall. And I think I'd be silly to think that someone, I mean, an adult of any age, um, should know about the markets. I mean, I knew the markets existed, but I didn't really start learning about the markets until, I was about 30, 29, something like that. I started dabbling in the markets before then, but I didn't really start to really learn and master the markets until I was 30, 29, 30, somewhere in there. So why would I expect that anyone else of any age should know these things when it's accessible, but it's not accessible, right? Because there's so many elements at work in your life that, sometimes it's something that people don't think about. And even with their 401k, they're just like, oh, my job requires it. So, I just put a part of my paycheck away and whatever, one day I'll retire. But a lot of people really don't even consider the markets um, in their entire lifetime. And that's an unfortunate thing, but it's not something that I feel personally that these individuals should be belittled about or over. Um, so even better for me is the individual who is aware that they have a certain desire to learn about the markets, um, and the uh, courage to admit to another adult that, hey, I'm completely lost when it comes to this stuff. Although I'm an adult, I have children, I'm married, I pay bills, et cetera, et cetera. I have a 401k, but I know nothing about the markets nor how to make money. Um, And my only experience in the markets technically is my 401k. Um, so, you know, I tend to be grateful. Like, I thank the universe that I get to meet so many black people or interact with so many black people that have the courage to admit that, hey, I don't know anything about this. You know, it's the ego a lot of times keeps us from admitting things about ourselves that we don't like. Like, if I like to emit to the world that I'm just the most intelligent being ever, then anything that threatens my facade, um, it's got to go away to those shadows of my mind. I can't let that be known. So it takes a lot of courage for an individual to face those shadows and say, hey, I'm ignorant. I need some help. Let me go to this person over here that seems like they know what they're talking about. Maybe they can lead me in the right direction. Um, and also, it could have a negative impact on these individuals, because what if this, Joe comes to me and Joe's like, hey, sis, I really want to learn about the stock market, but I don't know nothing. And I really don't know what to do. So instead of me taking Joe by the hand and saying, hey, bro, let me show you what's going on, and take it down to his, meet him at his level, I belittle him and, kind of make fun of the fact that he's an adult that doesn't know about the markets, because I'm an adult and I know about the markets. So you should too. Instead of my saying, okay, at one point in time, I was just like that. I had no clue about the stock market or how to make money in the stock market, none of those things. So instead, I belittle him. So that gives him an impression of me as a person. Also, my ability to deliver the information. And Joe decides, he's just completely turned off from me. And then Joe decides to go over here to someone else who maybe scams them. A lot of people get scammed um, off of their hope and desperation. It gets exploited. Um, so I tend to approach my business dealings the way I approach my personal dealings. So I'm not very different in my professional versus personal life. Integrity is important. I like trying to relate to people as best as possible, because I know that when I approach someone, usually when I approach someone to learn something, I've been watching them for a little while, um, because I'm watching to see if they have the right, I guess, personality for me to interact with. If I feel like the vibe is off, then most likely I'm going to wait for someone else to give me what I need. But in the meantime, I'm gonna try to, find what I need. But I'm gonna wait for somebody else to come along to give me what it is that I'm searching for. Um, so imagine, just I couldn't imagine. I can only imagine going to someone to learn something and being belittled because of my ignorance. And like I said, we all have some sort of level of ignorance. So I'd like for uh, in my dealings with that individual, relate to me on a certain level. Meet me where I am at this moment. And I've done the opposite in the past, and in my personal life and my professional life, where I did not meet, where I failed to meet people where they are and relate to them on a certain level where they were comfortable initially, and it caused me to lose relationships. Um, So, that's just a jewel that I keep in my crown, as a constant reminder to meet people where they are. Um, be sensitive to whatever it is that they need at the moment, and don't be afraid to ask people what they need, and never assume that you know what someone else needs. Um, and that's one thing that has allowed me to be a pretty decent teacher, is that I ask people specifically, any client that I take on, tell me what you need, from me specifically. I don't assume, that everybody learns the same kind of way. So I try to be very agile in that if this person learns in this style, then I try to figure out, well, how can I deliver my services for this individual in a way that they can receive it and understand it. And then this person learns in a different style, then I'm tailoring my services to, in a way that best benefits this individual, right? So, and it works for me, it works for me. But yeah, it's a very thin line between business and personal, really. And for me, those lines probably don't exist, probably completely blurred at most. Um, and I just try to, treat people with respect and kindness, um, and just be sensitive to what they know, what they need, where they are in their life, because we're all going somewhere. Um, Not everybody's going in the same direction, and I'm definitely no authority on the path that other people choose to take. I'm just grateful for the paths that mine intersect with, and we meet at that point, and do what we need to do. I just hope that I continue to handle it, um, in the best possible fashion, so that I can continue to grow as an individual, and definitely continue to grow as a business. But that's all I got. If y'all have would like to share any examples of when you failed to meet someone where they were, and what kind of impact it left on you, whether it be personal or business, leave it below in the comments. Shoot me a private message if you prefer. But thanks for watching, and have a good evening.